So he sits in his cubicle wondering whether he should even look at the paper because he thinks it's a trap. He doesn't think that anything other than that he's constantly being spied upon and that this woman is some sort of a plant. And in fact, when he finally comes to read it and muster the courage to do that, he can't believe what he reads, which is the 3 words, "I love you." And the words incite his desire. He can think about nothing but this woman at that point. And she goes away for a few days and he thinks that she's been vaporized. She thinks the thought police must have got her. And then he turns around and thinks that maybe something else has happened. Maybe she is trying to betray him and he imagines killing her. Because there's no fidelity there. There's just a hope and a desire. By the way, she's described as a solitary figure here. Very interesting. To go back to the point we made earlier, that the effect of this groupthink is to isolate people from one another and to see nothing there except the Enlightenment doctrine of autonomy. We have individuals being laws unto themselves, but having no law over them. Last time he saw her, he imagined or dreamt of bludgeoning her to death, because he thought the reason she was looking at him was because she was a spy. Now he has new feelings for the first time. And in chapter 2 of book 2, there's the "I love you" on this and his extraordinary response to it. In chapter 2, it moves on, and Winston goes to a place that they've arranged to meet. And he gets there first. He gathers some bluebells. Bluebell is a type of flower. And he thinks she's there first, and maybe she is, or rather he thinks that he's there first, but maybe she's there first because she comes up from behind him. She's clearly seen him and sneaks up on him and tells him to be quiet and pulls him into a room. Gives him a little bit of chocolate, illegal. And they go along to a pasture. They don't go to a room yet, sorry. They go to a pasture which fills him with great joy because it's a picture that he's imagined in his dreams, the golden country. It's a place that is no longer gray. But let's look at the description here. He looked up. It was the girl. She shook her head, evidently as a warning he must keep silent, then parted the bushes and quickly led the way along the narrow track into the wood. Obviously, she had been that way before, for she dodged the boggy bits as though by habit. Winston followed, still clasping his bunch of flowers. His first feeling was relief, but as he watched the strong, slender body moving in front of him with the scarlet sash, note the scarlet sash, it's part of the uniform, but still, the color strikes him, that was just tight enough to bring out the curve of her hips. The sense of his own inferiority was heavy upon him. Even now it seemed quite likely that when she turned round and looked at him, she would draw back after all. The sweetness of the air, the greenness of the leaves daunted him. Already on the walk from the station, the May sunshine had made him feel dirty and etiolated, removed of sense, his reasoning. A creature of indoors with the sooty dust of London in the pores of his skin, it occurred to him that till now she had probably never seen him in broad daylight, in the open. They came to the fallen tree that she had spoken of. The girl hopped over and forced apart the bushes in which there did not seem to be an opening. When Winston followed her, he found that they were in a natural clearing, a tiny grassy knoll supported by tall saplings that shut it in completely. The girl stopped and turned. Here we are. He was facing her at several paces distance, yet he did not dare move nearer to her. I did not want to say anything in the lane, she went on, in case there's a mic hidden there. I don't suppose there is, but there could be. There is always the chance of one of those swine recognizing your voice. We're all right here. He still had not the courage to approach her. We're all right here, he repeated stupidly. Yes. Look at the trees. I think we have a Garden of Eden scene here, by the way. I think Orwell is at least alluding to that. Adam and Eve in the garden. The trees, it's a place that's, even though, again, he's not presenting things in Christian terms, it is a sort of an image of that here. Nothing big enough to hide a mic, and besides, I've been here before, she says. They were only making conversation. He had managed to move closer to her now. She stood before him, very upright, with a smile on her face that looked quite faintly ironical, as though she was wondering why he was so slow to act. The bluebells had cascaded onto the ground. They seemed to have fallen of their own accord. In the account of Paradise Lost, when Adam sees that Eve has sinned, the flowers that he has in his hands fall to the earth. They actually wither immediately and fall down. He has indications from, I think this is Orwell alluding to Milton's Paradise Lost. And what he realizes is that she's been here before. What does that mean? Well, she's been here with other men. And that actually doesn't disturb him, it delights him. Because there is the possibility of sin. Something that is outside the party's determination. That would be a God thing. God declares what sin is. Would you believe, he said, that till this moment I didn't know what color your eyes were? They were brown. He noted, a rather light shade of brown with dark lashes. Now that you've seen what I'm really like, can you still bear to look at me? Yes, easily. I'm 39 years old. I've got a wife that I can't get rid of. I've got varicose veins. I've got 5 false teeth. I couldn't care less, said the girl. The next moment it was hard to say by whose act she was in his arms, etc. Then he asked her, what's her name? He doesn't even know her name. What's your name? Julia. I know yours. It's Winston Smith. How did you find that out? I expect I'm better at finding things out than you are, dear. Tell me, what did you think of me before that day I gave you the note? He did not feel any temptation to tell lies to her. It was even a sort of love offering to start off by telling the worst. I hated the sight of you. I wanted to rape you and then murder you afterwards. 2 weeks ago, I thought seriously of smashing your head in with a cobblestone. If you really want to know, I imagine that you had something to do with the thought police. The girl laughed delightedly, evidently taking this as a tribute to the excellence of her disguise. Not the thought police? You didn't honestly think that? Well, perhaps not exactly that. Well, he did. But from your general appearance, merely because you're young and fresh and healthy, you understand, I thought that probably you thought I was a good party member. Pure in word and deed, banners, processions, slogans, games, community hikes, all that stuff. And you thought that if I had a quarter of a chance, I'd denounce you as a thought criminal and get you killed off. Yes, something of that kind. A great many young girls are like that, you know. In fact, we've already seen that that's what the kids are brought up to be like. They're there to denounce the elders and to get them killed off. The reason you kill the elders off is just the same reason you kill off the language. It contains a memory of the past that the party can't control. Even through its language, you have to get rid of the past. To control the present, you have to control the past. And if you control the past, you can control the future, because the future can mean whatever you want it to mean, whatever you say it means. Culture of death. It's this bloody thing that does it, she said, ripping off the scarlet sash of the Junior Anti-Sex League and flinging it on the bow. Then, as though touching her waist had reminded her of something, she felt in the pocket of her overalls and produced a small slab of chocolate. She broke it in half and gave one of the pieces to Winston. Even before he had taken it, he knew by the smell that it was a very unusual chocolate. It was dark and shiny, and it was wrapped in silver paper. Chocolate normally was dull brown, crumbly stuff that tasted, as nearly as one could describe it, like the smoke of a rubbish fire. But at some time or another, he had tasted chocolate like the piece she'd given him. The first whiff of its scent had stirred up some memory, which he could not pin down, but which was powerful and troubling. Where did you get this stuff? Black market, she said indifferently. Actually, I am that sort of girl to look at. I'm good at games. I was a troop leader in the Spies. I do voluntary work 3 evenings a week for the Junior Anti-Sex League. Hours and hours I've spent pasting their bloody rot all over London. I always carry one end of a banner in the procession. I always look cheerful, and I never shirk anything. Always yell with the crowd. That's what I say. It's the only way to be safe. It's the only way to be safe. Be part of the crowd. But the memory of the chocolate is with Winston because he's had the chocolate before, but it's been so long that he's forgotten. But it brings back a memory. Again, but the party wants to control his memories. But note how the senses represent life here. The color of the bluebells, the gold of the sunlight, the taste of the chocolate, the romantic interlude that they have here, the hot sunlight on their faces, the softness of the woman's body. It feels to Winston like he's really alive. And the reader who is along with this celebrates this passage because it seems like the two of them are going to be able to resist the dehumanizing totalitarian state that is all around them. And maybe with that, they can find others and maybe the whole thing can be subverted. If there's just this little rebellion in the midst of all this. And the gray, cold, mechanical, dead world that they had lived in, maybe they could escape it somehow. The proles are allowed to escape it. They're allowed to go on having children and their grubby lives. But the party is not allowed to have this. They're controlled. And they're in the party. So the question is, are they allowed to escape the party? Is that even possible? We're not sure at this point. But the hope is that they might be. And they will continue this dalliance with, they'll rent a room and so forth. But I'll pick that up next time, I guess. I think we're out of time here, unfortunately.